The Devil's Advocate isn't just a movie about lawyers, greed, or the devil. It's a movie about us, about the choices we make, about the price we pay for success, and the uncomfortable truth that evil doesn't always show up wearing horns. Sometimes, it shows up wearing a suit. Today we're breaking down the hidden philosophy behind the film, the meaning of every major theme, and why the movie still hits harder today than it did in 1997. At the heart of The Devil's Advocate is one simple idea. Evil doesn't force you, it invites you, it tempts you, it makes you feel like it was your idea all along. The entire movie is built on that one philosophy, not fear, not power, but seduction. Everything Satan does in this movie is about getting Kevin to choose his own downfall. Most viewers think the villain is John Milton, but that's wrong. The real villain of the movie is Kevin. Milton doesn't control Kevin, he just nudges him. The real battle is Kevin's ego versus Kevin's morality. Every time Kevin wins a case, he loses a piece of himself. The movie is based on a philosophical idea called moral gradualism. It means people rarely turn evil in one big jump. Instead, they fall slowly, one small compromise at a time. Kevin doesn't sell his soul in a dramatic moment. He trades it inch by inch. Milton doesn't force Kevin to cheat. He doesn't force him to lie. He simply opens the door and waits for Kevin to walk through. Kevin thinks he's in control. Every case he wins, every client he impresses, he believes it's his skill, his intellect, his power. But the movie shows us that control is an illusion. Milton doesn't just tempt Kevin. He mirrors Kevin's desires, amplifying them. Kevin's ego does all the work, while Milton watches. Philosophically, this reflects a truth. Evil often works through what we already want. It doesn't impose itself. It reflects back our ambitions and flaws, making us the architect of our own downfall. Marianne isn't just a victim. She's the voice of truth that Kevin refuses to hear. Her deterioration is a warning, a mirror to what Kevin's choices are doing to him emotionally and spiritually. She represents conscience, sanity, and emotional grounding, things that are often ignored in pursuit of success. The tragedy is that Kevin cannot see it until it's too late. Success in the movie is more than money or prestige. It's the feeling of being untouchable, admired, unstoppable. That feeling becomes a drug. Milton doesn't just sell deals. He sells validation. He sells the illusion that ambition can exist without consequence. Philosophically, this reflects a modern existential crisis. The desire to achieve at all costs, even if it kills the soul. Kevin's slow unraveling shows how seductive power can make us compromise values without even noticing it. The film's brilliance is in its subtlety. It suggests that evil isn't always catastrophic. Sometimes, it's banal. A small lie, a skipped conscience check, a compromise for convenience. Milton embodies this idea perfectly. He doesn't need dramatic evil. He simply nudges people toward incremental moral failure. And that, in philosophy, is often the most terrifying kind. New York City in this movie isn't a setting. It's a trap. A psychological battlefield. The city represents ambition with no limits, desire with no ceiling, and temptation with no brakes. Milton's law firm is hell disguised as success, a place where the reward for winning is that you lose everything that actually matters. Milton's law firm isn't just a workplace. It's a metaphorical hell. Every corner, every luxurious office, every congratulatory handshake is a trap. The firm seduces with rewards while punishing morality. It's designed to make men and women worship their ambition rather than their conscience. In philosophy, this is a modern interpretation of Dante's Inferno. Hell isn't fire and brimstone. Hell is a place where your desires are weaponized against you. Mirrors appear constantly in the movie. They reflect not reality, but perception. Kevin sees what he wants to see. Marianne sees what he refuses to acknowledge. Mirrors are Milton's tool, a reminder that evil often works by manipulating our reflection of ourselves. Vanity is Milton's favorite sin for a reason. It's silent, it's invisible, it grows like a shadow behind your back, unnoticed until it dominates your life. Kevin's vanity blinds him to Marianne's suffering, it blinds him to his own moral decay, and it blinds him to Milton's manipulation. Milton isn't brute force evil. He's an artist. Every temptation is carefully crafted, every word, every gesture designed to draw Kevin deeper. Philosophically, this aligns with the idea of the banality of evil. True corruption doesn't yell. It whispers, it seduces, it convinces you to take the first step yourself. Ambition isn't inherently evil, but the movie shows what happens when it becomes unrestrained, when desire outweighs morality. Kevin's ambition costs him his marriage, his sanity, his innocence. Marianne pays the price for his choices, and the audience is forced to ask, what would I sacrifice for success? Kevin thinks he's free. He believes he makes his own decisions. But Milton exposes a philosophical truth. Freedom without awareness is just another form of slavery. You're free to choose, until your choices are dictated by ego, desire, or fear. And by then the path to your destruction is already paved. Marianne is small, quiet, and often overlooked, but she represents conscience itself. Without her warnings, Kevin's moral compass spins unchecked. Her presence reminds us that conscience isn't a burden, it's a shield, and when we ignore it, we leave ourselves vulnerable to corruption. Kevin's love for Marianne isn't enough to save either of them. Ambition isolates, ego blinds, and moral collapse becomes inevitable when personal gain outweighs human connection. The film shows that success without ethics isn't achievement. It's hollow, and it leaves destruction in its wake. The ending is a warning, not just a twist. Even when Kevin makes the right choice, temptation waits around the corner. It doesn't disappear, it evolves. The movie reminds us defeating evil once doesn't guarantee it won't return. We are only ever as safe as our vigilance. The Devil's Advocate is philosophy wrapped in a courtroom drama. It explores morality, temptation, ambition, and ego. It asks, who are you when no one is watching? What compromises will you make when the rewards are intoxicating? It isn't a story about Satan, it's a story about ourselves, about the choices we make, and the invisible forces both internal and external that shape those choices. The Devil's Advocate isn't just a horror story or a thriller. It's a cautionary tale about the human condition. It reminds us that evil doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it smiles, and sometimes it dresses in a suit, offering everything you've ever wanted at the cost of what matters most. You don't lose your soul in one dramatic act. You lose it in small compromises, tiny steps, and invisible sacrifices. The movie asks each of us a question we can't answer isolely. What are you willing to sacrifice for your desires? What parts of yourself are you ready to ignore for ambition or vanity? The final lesson is clear. The devil doesn't need to steal your soul if he can convince you to hand it over willingly. And the scariest truth is this. Every day, we face the same choices Kevin faced. Small decisions, subtle temptations, compromises we think are harmless. They aren't. The Devil's Advocate isn't just a story about a man and a demon. It's a mirror, a reflection of who we are, and a warning of what we could become. If the philosophy behind this movie made you think differently about it or see it in a new light, hit that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done if you were Kevin? And if you want more deep dives into films and the philosophy behind them, subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support helps us make more content that goes beyond the surface and explores the meaning behind the movies we love. Thank you for watching. We will see you again next time.